What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. It's Fast Cars, Fast Money. Just me again, but I'm going to be breaking down the Xfinity series at Bristol. As you can tell, I got my Jeff Gordon famous Bristol victory shirt on to get in the mood for the Bristol weekend. So hopefully it'll be a good one DFS wise. But let's look at the initial thoughts and race preview for this race. So this Xfinity race is 300 laps. The racing on Friday night, not Saturday. So just keep that in mind. It's kind of one day earlier than they normally race. It is not a playoff race. However, it is the regular season finale. So we're going to set the playoff grid. We're going to crown the regular season champion. It's basically going to be either Austin Cindric or AJ Allmendinger. So that'll be kind of a fun battle to watch throughout the race. Richmond did see some cautions. I know the Cup Series didn't really see that many, but now that we're at Bristol, Bristol is a small half-mile, high bank, fast, they 15, 16 second lap times. I forget how many cars, if you have 40, I think. So throwing 40 cars on the track, there's going to be cautions. I guarantee it. But yeah, laps go by really fast. So you really need those dominators in your lines because every 15 seconds, points are given out for whoever's running the fastest lap and whoever is leading that lap. But because the track is so small, because there's so many drivers on the track at one time, a lot of the fast laps are going to be distributed. Just because depending on when people are catching traffic, who will be able to lay down a fast lap. So so let's get to the driver by driver breakdown. As always, you can really show your support to this channel by really just liking, commenting, and interacting with us. That's really the only thing that we really ask for right now, is just trying to grow and become bigger. The support so far has been awesome. So just continue to do that. Thank you guys so much. We also have a Twitter page where we post the spreadsheet. If you guys want access to it, it's over on Twitter at FastCarsFM. You can also ask us some lineup questions over there as well. But so like I was talking about with this track, knowing that cars are going to go laps down very early, that fast laps are going to be distributed, and that there are a lot of dominator points up for grabs, you really want to, try to jam as many dominator plays in your line as possible. Place differential and finish potential is still important, but if you can get a guy who's leading you laps, who's laying down a bunch of fast laps, those points are going to rack up really fast and carry you to cashing. So my two favorite potential lap leaders and potential dominator hogs would be Ty Gibbs and Austin Cindric. Gibbs is currently dominating the ARCA race like he's been all year long. I expect him to win it, but it's not over yet, so he could lose. But Gibbs has basically been out front leading at some point in the race, no matter where we go, whether it's his first time being there or he's been there a couple of times in the past. But he's usually started deep in the field. Now he starts closer to the front. So it's not going to take him as long to get to the front and start to really pick up those dominator points. I would argue that Austin Cindric and Ty Gibbs probably the two best cars in the field. So if you're able to get the 54 and the 22 in your line, I think those confidence-wise is a good place to start. All the data last week said Justin Allgaier looked like a slam dunk play. Didn't quite live up to expectations at Richmond. If you look at the data again, it basically says, hey, he's going to be really good. He starts on the front row right next to Noah Gragson, so he has a great chance of becoming that early dominator, depending on how long it takes for Gibbs to get around those guys. So I think he's an interesting GPP option. Same with Allmendinger, same with Gragson. Like, there is a competition caution for this race. So I think it's at lap 40, I want to say. So then they'll re-rack the field, and then maybe pit stops, maybe Gragson or Allgaier potentially lose the lead if they are able to hold off Gibbs for that first run. But I really feel anyone in the top 10, you can kind of consider those are the guys who will have the cleanest air. Those are the guys who probably are going to be running the fastest, dealing with the least amount of traffic, and should probably just get into rhythm and clock laps off. I think Sam Mayer is a good play. He starts 22nd. He is running the ARCA race. He's running the truck race, and he's also running this Xfinity race. Of the 3 cars, this Junior Motorsports 8 car is by far the best. Gives you some good place differential with potential. I don't know how high it is, but he does have Dominator upside. Harrison Burton, Brandon Jones, Daniel Hemrick, Ty Dillon. Like, again, it just kind of comes down to, do you want place differential or do you want potential lap leaders? I would say Burton and Hemrick are probably more GPP options. And then Jones and Dillon, I would feel more confident in either format, whether you're playing cash or GPPs. I love Ty Dillon this week. I think the R Motorsports car is a top 10 car. Ty Dillon's pretty good historically at Bristol, and he starts 31st. So that's a ton of place differential to jam in your line. It's not going to lead you any laps, so you need to pair him with guys who can lead laps. Whereas if you play a Hemrick or a Burton, they don't really have that place differential upside, but they have that dominator upside. If they are able to find their way out front or pick up a bunch of fast laps, just because they start 6th or 4th in the grand scheme of things really isn't going to mean much, because all those dominator points are just going to carry them, and it'll make them, a good play. So I feel like literally anyone from the 9K range up is kind of in play. It just kind of comes down to who you're most comfortable playing and kind of who you're the most confident in. For me, it's, Gibbs, Cindric, Mayer, Jones, and Dillon. And it's all the guys I have the high interest around. Dropping down to the 8K range, not really too interested in a lot of these guys. I think it's going to be tough to get to, just depending on how many of those, 9K and 10K guys that you're grabbing. But I think Moffitt's interesting. He's in the same equipment as Ty Dillon, but literally for $500 more, you can go up and grab Ty Dillon with a bunch more place differential. So if you can't get up to Ty Dillon, I don't mind Moffitt. I think Annette is an interesting pivot off of Moffitt. Just, equipment wise, they should probably finish around roughly the same spot. Maybe Annette has a little bit more upside. Herbst, we saw Chase Briscoe basically win everywhere in this 98 car last year, including Bristol. We haven't seen Herbst be able to replicate any of those kind of performances, but we know the equipment's good. And if he can maintain his position and stay in the top 10, he will earn fast laps throughout the race. I guess same could be said with Jeb Burton, but it's just tough to play either of those guys with the mindset of, hey, I'm going to pay up for these expensive guys and hope they kind of carry the bulk of my dominator points, and then I'm getting value with place differential plays. So it's hard to trust, those guys who maybe don't have the highest lap leading upside and start kind of in the top, 5 to 10th range. It's just tough to play those guys. Myatt Snyder, I think, is interesting. We saw him finish well here last year in, forget what equipment he was in last year, but he did well last year. The RCR car is good. He starts 17th. I don't mind him for his price. Same with Landon Castle. Landon Castle is a veteran driver starting 35th. He's a great place differential play. Same with BJ McLeod starting 37th. This 15 car is better, ironically, than the equipment that he owns. So he should, perform well. My only fear with Castle and McLeod is they start so deep in the field, and it's not going to take long for Gregson and Allgaier to run these back marker cars down. So a lot of cars are going to go laps down, which doesn't really, matter in the grand scheme of things. But in order for them to really maximize their day, like, they can't get caught like 7-8 laps down. They need to be kind of having a quicker pace, and them starting that deep in the field, it might take them a while to navigate through the traffic before, Allgaier and Gregson with that clean air are going to be kind of right behind them. Ray Goulding, the equipment is terrible, so I would not suggest playing him. Brandon Godovic, we saw John Hunter Nemechek perform really well in this 26 car, almost won last week. So Godovic is in the same type of driver, but the equipment's good enough. So I think he's you can consider him in your player pool. Not really interested in Clements based upon where he starts. Not really interested in Sage Karam either. He is trying to transition out of IndyCar and kind of come over into the NASCAR Xfinity series. Doesn't have that much experience in an Xfinity car, let alone at Bristol. And with no practice in qualifying, it just sounds like a recipe for disaster. Carson Ware, I don't mind Carson Ware in the SS Greenlight 17, starts deep in the field. If he can just keep clocking laps and avoid the wrecks, like we know guys are going to wreck out of this race and he can move forward. And that's all you're really looking for with really anyone, from the 6K range on down. It's just, can they stay on the track? Can they give me some place differential? And can they give me a good finish? And can they avoid the wrecks? Like, it's really all you want. And if you're paying up for those guys, you need some of these, kind of scrub plays where even if they score you, 20 points or whatever, if you can nail the star plays, like the dominator plays, who score you 80, 90, 100 points, like it doesn't really matter how many points these guys score, as long as they're not getting you negative points. So for that reason, I don't mind Tommy Joe Martins. Maybe a little bit more GPP-ish. Carson Ware is definitely safer. Williams and LeBay, I think, start a little too high. Jade Buford, I'm going to bump him down to medium. Actually, I don't mind him. He's running the ARCA race right now, so that'll give him a little bit of experience, but he's never really been to Bristol before, and that worries me. Bailey Curry, I mean, this car has to have good luck eventually, right? I think, I don't know how many races in a row now it's had some sort of mechanical issue. The positive part is he starts dead last, so he literally can't lose you any points. The problem is if he has a mechanical issue or wrecks out, he's not going to gain you any points either. But for if you need a cheap punt play and maybe some guys wreck out before he has mechanical issues, like, I don't mind it, but don't go all in on him for sure. Earnhardt could work out. I just prefer other punts who start deeper. Joe Graff Jr., I think, is an interesting punt play. I probably feel a little bit more confident about Joe Graff than I do with Bailey Curry. Parsons, this car has a good sponsor on it this week. Parsons hasn't raced in a while, but usually he runs pretty well. He just usually tends to, get in wrecks and starting 27th. I'm not really too interested. Guy that I love is Chad Fincham. Burned, I know the 61 car burned a lot of people last week, and it was barely maintaining pace. It probably should have got black flagged for how slow it was going. But this is Fincham's home track. If you look at his finishes over the previous kind of Bristol races that he's done, they're actually, pretty good for the equipment that he's in. And at $5,100 starting 38th, he's very similar to Bailey Curry, where he's not going to, lose you any points. But I actually know that they're going to try and they're going to, bring a good car for him to race, where I have no idea what kind of car Bailey Curry is going to have, or, Joe Graff. Like, they're probably a little bit more risky. So out of the punt plays, I love Fincham. I like Spencer Boyd a lot too. He didn't do as well as I thought he was going to do last week at Richmond. Really fell off there at the end. I don't know if he had some type of issue, but he's in the DGM equipment, so the equipment's a lot better than everybody else. And then from there, it's just, I would avoid a lot of that range. So yeah, Bristol it's interesting. It's a little unique from a DFS perspective, just because there are so many laps, there are so many points up for grabs. It doesn't take long for these guys to get in traffic, and then those fast laps are distributed. But if you are able to nail the guys who are out front and leading laps, like every 15, 16 seconds, you're just earning points, and that's just consistently going to help you, move your line forward. So I would jam more potential dominators in your lines who have the ability to get out front than, maybe just one dominator and then paying up for a place differential guy who can't get out front. Especially if he's priced right next to a guy who does have that dominator potential. So take a little bit more risks this weekend, not a ton, but maybe jam in one other extra place or one extra dominator play than you normally do. And then we know there's going to be caution. So just hopefully the rest of your line that you do play is avoiding those wrecks. But that'll do it for the NASCAR Xfinity series breakdown at Bristol. This spreadsheet is up on our Twitter page at FastCarsFM. And then our Cup video should be up shortly as well. But good luck to everybody this weekend.